Recently in Pokemon Infinite Fusion, the fan game with over 210,000 different Pokemon combinations, over 40 new Pokemon were added into the game. So I thought it would be no better time than now to do a run using only those new Pokemon. So including all legendary and final form Pokemon, that gives us 28 total Pokemon. So I paired each of them up, fused them together, and we're gonna see if we can beat a randomized hardcore Nuzlocke. That means if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead, the level cap is the next leader's ace, no active items can be used in battle, and we're gonna be playing on set mode. If you haven't yet, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, leave a like and a comment, and do all that other kind of algorithm stuff. It would mean so much to me. At the time that I'm recording this, I am so close to 10,000 subscribers. It has been one heck of a good year, and I really want to launch 2024 even better. So show your support down below if you can. I'd really appreciate it. But anywho, let's jump into it. Starting things off in Professor Oak's lab, I decided to start things off with Registrum, which is a fusion between Registeel and Tyrantrum, and I named it Thunderjaw. I love this sprite, and I also love Horizon, so great ad. First, using a midday Lycanroc with B-War is gonna get us this absolutely adorable Lycanware. And next up, when we take Noivern and Delamise, we get ourselves a Delimburn. Next up, we're gonna fuse Lycanroc Midnight with Goodra, and this dude is, honestly, I am into it. It makes it look like it should be like a poison type. When we fuse up Regirock with Polysand, we're going to go ahead and get this amazing Sand King. And fusing up Altaria and Aurorus, we get this cool Gen 1 looking sprite. I really love Altaria. I wish it was better. When we fuse up Trevenant with Regice, we're going to go ahead and get this Frozen Tree. But what's even better, its alternate sprite is this creepy snowman. Fusing up Toxapex with Sharpedo, we're going to go ahead and get this amazing Predator, Toxido. And when fusing up Hawlucha with Garbodor, we go ahead and get the Trashman. Fusing Oricorio Pom-Pom and Pau is going to go ahead and get us this adorable Southern Belle. Up next is Sensu along with Frostlass, and we are going to get this majestic Froscorio. And then fusing Cacturne with Bali gets us this awesome Tango Star. When we're fusing up Necrozama with Scolipede, we're going to go ahead getting us this amazing Scolizuma. And I know it's a reference to something, but I can't put my finger on it right now. Please tell me in the comments. And then finally, when fusing up Sableye with Glalie, we are going to get this horrifying Glalie. And now that we have everybody fused up, we're going to face off against Brock and his Steel Pokemon. He starts off by sending in G-Palm, and we send in our Thunderjaw. After getting flinched and going for a Bulldoze, he goes ahead and swaps into Darkdon, who takes about 50%, getting his speed lowered. And after a failed Quick Attack, we go ahead and take down the Darkdon. When G-Palm comes back out, one more Bulldoze seals its fate, and we're moving on to Mount Moon. And outside of Mount Moon, we run into Nurse Joy, who's tending to this wounded Geodude. Brock rushes over with another random legendary Pokemon that he's hoping to stick inside of this Geodude to make his new best friend. I'm gonna say it's Registeel. Anyways, after this fantastic fusion, Brock and Nurse Joy leave together, hand in hand. Over on Nugget Bridge, we run into Rando, who's acting really strangely. He's dyed his hair red, and it's kind of in a strange emo fringe. And the things he's saying about his Pokemon, they're so mean. Oh no, Rando's been randomized into silver. Going for a brutal swing, we do about 25% before we go for an Accelerock, doing still basically nothing. Not really having a better option, I start to use Brutal Swing again as rollouts continue to chip away at our health until ultimately the duck goes down. Out next comes Dumby, and I love this thing's name, and once again we're going to go for a couple of Brutal Swings, but it doesn't do that much damage, so we're going to go ahead and swap out. Since this thing is grass, we do effectively nothing with our Aqua Jet, so we go ahead and swap out into Tango. I go for a Needle Arm because apparently I'm not realizing the typing on this thing, and then I remember going for an Air Cutter. And after two of those, we take down Dunby. Up next comes Untick, and this thing's eye really bothers me as a hidden power does some decent damage to us. After that, we follow up with Feint Attack, grabbing ourselves the KO. And here's where we see his starter, Glyspra, which I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, and we managed to take him down after just a couple of Feint Attacks. And with that, we defeat Rando, and we're moving on to Misty. Anywho, now it's time for us to face off against Misty and her fighting Pokemon. She starts off by sending in a Miss Rogue, and we're going to go ahead and send an Apex. Going for a Night Slash, we bring it way down into the red, but when he hits us, our Rough Skin KO the little ghost. Her Ace Shell Chop comes out next. Deciding to go for a Toxic, he just goes for a Leer. After that, a Night Slash does obviously basically nothing as it goes ahead using Icicle Spear, and I get absolutely petrified since this thing is a shelter. Not wanting to risk it, I go ahead and swap into Tango instead, as an Icicle Spear does a lot less damage to us. Finishing things off with a Needle Arm, we go ahead and grab our Cascade Badge. Over on the SSM, we run into Rando again, and this time he's very frantic and nervous and running around a lot. Is he Barry this time? Why does he keep changing his personality? This doesn't make any sense. He starts off by sending a Sableye, and I send in Sandcastles. Going for Detect, he can block our Sand Tomb as he goes in for a Feint Attack on the following turn. After we miss and take a little bit of damage, I decided to just go for a Mega Drain, which does a pitiful amount of damage. Following up with a Bulldoze, we go ahead and get him way down into the red before Rando heals back up. After that, a Bulldoze takes care of business, and he sends in his Golchamp. Setting up on Iron Defense, I go ahead and go for a Mega Drain, doing about 50%, and then getting him down into red on the following turn. After throwing some mud in our face, one more Drain manages to take the big guy down. Glasbur comes in, and this guy is either really drunk or really tired, I can't tell, and we go ahead and set up a Sandstorm. After throwing some rocks on him and draining him a few times, we go ahead and take down the Glisbra. His final Pokemon, Cattersaur, comes in, and going for a Rock Throw, we go ahead and grab ourselves the Yoko and defeat Rando Barry. And with Barry Rando, Private Eye taken care of, it's now time for us to face off against Lieutenant Surge and his Ghost Pokemon. Whenever Lieutenant Surge gets randomized into a Ghost Trainer, it always kind of creeps me out because he's a vet and there's no way that he hasn't had to experience this firsthand. But anywho, after KOing his first Pokemon in one shot, Silas comes out, taking a Night Slash like a boss. And after setting up Poison, we go ahead and go for an Aqua Jet, activating his Berry. After we get knocked to our own Berry, he goes ahead and heals up, and we go for another Night Slash. After Surge uses his second potion, we go ahead and get him down after just a couple of more hits, and we get knocked down just below half. His final Pokemon, Garachu, comes in, and at least he still has an electric Pokemon here. So we go ahead and swap out into Furry. An Asian Power Shadow Sneak does very little to us, and after 2 brutal swings, we go ahead and take down the Pikachu, and with that, our Thunder Badge. Over in Pokemon Tower, Rando's talking about the pain and suffering caused by evil human trainers, and he wants to free all Pokemon from their Pokeballs, because if they're not free, this is the only place they have to look forward to. I didn't realize N was so depressing. Scoliogron comes in against our Thunderjaw as his first Pokemon. Going for a Bulldoze, we go ahead lowering its speed as a Bug Bite does basically nothing to us, other than stealing our Berry, of course. After touching a Rock Slide with Protect, we go ahead and do about 50% on the following turn. After spamming another Protect, he goes ahead and heals up, but after 2 more Rock Slides, we take down the Gon. Glisbro comes in as his next Pokemon, and after hitting us with an Acrobatics, we go for a Bite, getting him way down into the red. After healing up, one more gets us the KO. Horbat comes in, and look at the mouth on this guy, but he's already dead, so whatever. Vigoom comes in as his final Pokemon, and I absolutely love this smashing little mustache. But after throwing some hands at us, it only takes 2 shots for the KO, and we defeat Rando. Outside the sewers in Celadon City, we see Rando, this time beating up on 2 Rocket Grunts. After the fight, he randomly bets us 1 million Pokégen that he can beat Team Rocket faster than we can before running off in the complete opposite direction, so I guess he's Barry again. After accidentally fighting our way through Team Rocket space, because I didn't mention them at any point before this, we find this old guy hanging out with this chick who looks mildly uncomfortable. He gets mad at us for interrupting his party, and he goes ahead and challenges us to a battle. Giovanni starts off by sending in Dragos, and we send in Davy. A Dragon Rage does what Dragon Rage does, and then we go ahead and follow with a Dragon Pulse, getting him down to his Sash. After healing up, we can go ahead and take him down on the following turn. Up next is Sharp Doom, and I absolutely love this water doggo as an Ice Fang comes in, getting us down to just 22 HP. And we go for a Boom Burst, doing some good damage. Swapping Davy out and sending in Thunderjaw, another Ice Fang, is a lot less successful against us this time. And we can follow up with a Crunch for the KO. His final Pokemon Electrito comes in, and apparently he's just a shark enthusiast. And after 2 hits from us, we go ahead and take down the bomb, and we defeat Giovanni. And that means next up is going to be Erika and her Dragon Pokemon. She starts off with Skolinair, and we're going to go ahead and send in Nicolas Cage. A Bugby steals our berry, but 2 Icy Winds go ahead and take down the Skolinair. Latiatic comes in next, going for a Dragon Breath, doing some decent damage to us, but we go ahead and seed it up. After getting hit with another Dragon Breath, we go ahead and go for a Will-O-Wisp, but at this point, we're just going to kind of do some chip damage until this thing eventually goes down. Her final Pokemon, Hypno, comes in, and I think it's hilarious that its name is exactly the same as it always is. We take it down after just a couple of Icy Winds, and with that, we get our Rainbow Badge. This game is a lot faster when you don't have to stop to do any encounters, and now it's time for us to face off against Koga. Koga's been randomized into a fighting trainer, and he starts off with Lucas Wine, and we send in Sandcastles. A Bone Rush comes in, knocking us down low enough to activate our berry, and I go ahead and set up a Sand Tomb. Knowing I need to swap out, I send in Unit 01, tanking a couple more hits from another Bone Rush. And after that, a Psycho Cut goes ahead and gets us the KO. From here on out, we find out that Koga is a giant chicken enthusiast, but after a few more Psycho Cuts, we managed to take down every single one of these little buskins. And with that, we earn our Soul Badge. After saving everybody in Silphco, we run into Rando once again. This time he's talking about how Team Rocket is a bunch of sad excuses for trainers, and he needs to stop his daddy, Giovanni. And I guess that means he's Silver again. He starts off with Hack Speed, and I go and send the Trash Wing. After going for a Flying Press, I basically do nothing to him, and a Dragon Claw absolutely destroys Danny DeVito. I don't know what I expected here, so I go ahead and send in Nicolas Cage. Once in, an Ice Beam does some giant damage to him, and this guy likes it so much he wants to taunt me, and I take him down on the second hit. Volcagregas comes in as his next Pokemon. Going for a Bulldoze because I'm not sure if this thing is fire or not, we go ahead and do basically nothing as a Whirlwind sends in Sandcastles. Now going for a Sand Tomb just to get some chip damage in there, I can follow up by going for a Stone Edge and getting him way down into the red. An Absorb does a lot more damage than I expected, but one more Stone Edge takes him down regardless. Palk Tomb's out next, and I love this little galaxy map. It is so cool. After setting up a Sand Tomb, I try to raise my defense with Curse, but an Aura Sphere comes in and KOs my second Pokemon of the run. We go ahead and set in Unit 01, going for a Night Slash, doing a decent amount of damage. An Aqua Tail then knocks us down to our berry, but after a couple of more Night Slashes, we can take the thing down. Glasbro comes in, and nobody's gotten this guy a coffee yet. He's looking really rough. But anywho, I go ahead and swap in the Nicolas Cage. And that's when Glasbro goes ahead and U-turns out, sending in Charfree. A Flame Burst does some decent damage to us, and we go ahead and turn Ice Beam, doing about 50%. Another Flame Burst activates our berry, but one more Ice Beam takes him out. Glasbro comes back in as his final Pokemon, so I go ahead and send in Apex, taking an X-Scissor. After he tries to U-turn out into nothing, I can heal up with my berry, go for a Crunch, grab the KO, and we've defeated Rando. After confronting Giovanni, we find out that he's actually Rando's father. So that means that Blue and Silver are brothers. Horrified at this realization, after this horrifying realization, Rando's personality breaks into several more personalities that maybe we'll explore later. Maybe not. I don't know. Double battle. Lopunny and Remoraid come in first, and both of these guys really bother me. There is a gun octopus that has a gun face, and then this Lapras is way too sultry. After some exchanges back and forth, Mowlet goes ahead and does some decent damage to Remoraid while it's getting itself down into the red. After Giovanni heals up, Brian goes ahead and takes down Rando's first Pokemon, and a Bulldoze does basically nothing to both of his Pokemon. When Glisbra comes in, it goes ahead and takes a huge hit from the Lapras, and then ultimately goes down, but while doing just a tiny bit of damage to the Remoraid. A Tortleon comes out and I had to do a double take because for a second I thought it was the triple fusion, and then we managed to take down the Gundapus. Genmenace comes in, and this thing is an absolute monster. I love it. Luckily for us, an Ice Beam goes ahead getting it just below 50% and manages to freeze it. And then a Sucker Punch from his Ariados takes it down. With Giovanni's final 2 Pokemon in, this Ariados is doing some serious damage before it eventually goes down to an Ice Beam. Rando goes ahead and sends in Flatine, and once again I have to do a double take because I thought I said Flatline. Then we set up a Burn and Poison on Giovanni's Pokemon. Ghost Rider gets hit down just below 50% before our Berry gets activated, and now both of his Pokemon are starting to get a little low. I'm not 100% sure how I got hit when I was using Phantom Force, but when we finally get to do it, we take down the Marowak before Brian takes us way down into the red, but then the Poison takes out the Lopunny, and we defeat Giovanni. That was close. And with Team Rocket taking care of us, now it's time for us to take on Sabrina and her fairy Pokemon. She starts things off with Ekany, and we send in Nicolas Cage. Going for an Ice Beam, we bring it way down into the red, and after she heals up a couple of times, we eventually take it down. Zorvoir comes in as her second Pokemon, and I go for a Phantom Force, doing barely anything because it quad resists. With a Foul Play coming in doing massive damage to us, so we need to go ahead and swap out. Foul Play once again does a lot because I have a lot of attack. And after I recover, it goes ahead and sets up a Torment on us. Going for a Toxic on the following turn, we go for an Aqua Jet, getting it down pretty low between our Rough Skin and the Poison. But to avoid a crit, I swap out, and the Zorvoir goes down to the Poison. Mudley is up next, and I decided to start setting up a Dragon Dance. After setting up 2, we go for a Fly, taking down the Mudlilia. And when Clefluff comes in as our final Pokemon, a Fly gets it way down into the red, and a Freeze Dry finishes it off. And now it's time for us to take on Blaine and his Burly Rock Boys, which kind of makes sense because Volcano Badge, as Corridon comes out as his first Pokemon. Now that Thunderjaw has Earthquake, we can go ahead and do massive damage to his first Pokemon. And after he heals up once, 2 more Earthquakes go ahead and take it out. Tyranair comes out next, and after an Earthquake and doing some okay damage to us, he goes ahead and swaps out, sending in Probosect. But it only takes a couple of hits for us to take down the Sentient Mustache. When Tyranair comes back in, we go for an Iron Head, grabbing ourselves the KO. After that, his Ace Problem comes in, and the only problem here is that it takes us 2 full hits to get our Volcano Badge. See ya, Blaine. After defeating Blaine and getting the Volcano Badge, I'm inspired to go visit an actual real-life volcano, heading over to Mount Ember, where it turns out that Team Rocket's been working on this triple fusion machine. Did you guys hear about this? It's crazy. And it's even more insane that it actually works. And with the whole Rando daddy issue side plot, I had no idea that they had stolen a bunch of Master Balls from Silphco. And now I gotta fight this thing called Zamalkuno? I had no idea. But it only takes 3 Rock Slides, and Thunderjaw destroys Giovanni's master plan. See you, buddy. After Giovanni's crippling defeat at the hands of a child, he runs back to Viridian City, where he actually used to be the gym leader before founding Team Rocket. And we need to defeat him yet again for our 8th and final badge, where it turns out he's been randomized into a ground specialist. Totally random and unique, I know. His first Pokemon is this Haircut, and I send in Minotro. A Sucker Punch does some decent damage to us, and then I go ahead and go for a Freeze Dry, doing a lot less than I expected. It's at this point that my plan is to stack up a bunch of Dragon Dances so I can just sweep with this thing. After getting knocked way down into the red, I go for a Dragon Claw and fail to get the KO, so I go ahead and swap out into Unit 01. A Psycho Cut does nothing to me, as a Night Slash does nothing to him. After a couple of Steamrollers, however, and our Berry getting activated, we take it down. Which leads into his next Pokemon, Togetrio. After getting knocked down pretty low with an Air Slash, we heal up, and then realize that this thing has Arena Trap, and I'm not going anywhere. After exchanging a couple of hits back and forth, I do manage to get the Togetrio down super low, but ultimately Unit 01 goes down. Once I send in Nick Cage, it goes for a Sky Attack, and we can safely take it down with an Ice Beam. His next Pokemon out is Rhyhorn, and there's something weird about this guy. I can't quite tell what's different about him. After setting up a Leech Seed and going for an Ice Beam, he swaps out before we can take it out on the second one, sending in Glyzar, but joke's on him, and it goes down in just one shot. He goes ahead and sends Rhyhorn back in, who we can then safely take down. His final Pokemon Meow Trio comes in, and with one more Ice Beam, we take it down, and I do think it's kind of funny that his final Pokemon was a Meowth. But now that we have 8 badges, we can head on over to the Elite Four. Alright everybody, before we head on into the Elite Four, let's take one final look at our team before we do. Starting things off, we have Nicolas Cage with Will-O-Wisp, Phantom Force, Leech Seed, and Ice Beam. Apex with Aqua Jet, Crunch, Toxic, and Recover. Thunderjaw with Rock Slide, Iron Head, Crunch, and Earthquake. Slimer with Rock Slide, Aqua Tail, Crunch, and Play Rough. Minitro with Freeze Dry, Fly, Moonblast, and Flamethrower. And finally, Davy with Dragon Pulse, Anchor Shot, Shadow Ball, and Roost. First up at Lorelei, it turns out she's actually an admin for Team Sky. She starts off by sending in a Zekdos, which is absolutely horrifying, and I send in Davy. Going for a Dragon Pulse, because I'm not sure if it's Electric or Dragon, I get lucky, getting it down way into the red. After using both of her full restores, we go ahead and get it down into the red one more time before she swaps out, setting an Exebat, who we can then take down after just 2 hits. Hostactyl comes in next, and I absolutely love this Sprite. But after it takes us way too low for comfort, and we only get it to about 50%, I need to swap out. So I go ahead and send in Apex. A Foul Play does about 50%, but after he keeps on insisting on hitting me, eventually the Rough Skin takes him down while I heal up. Zekdos comes back in, getting me down pretty low, but after 2 Aqua Jets and a couple of Rough Skins, we take it down. With Riobat in, I'm going to go ahead and swap out, sending Nicolas Cage in. And after it goes ahead and sets up a Nasty Plot, we can safely take it down with an Ice Beam. Zapquaza comes in as her final Pokemon, and she has 2 Zapdoses, excuse you. Oh my god, it's dose. It's 2. But after setting up the burn, we can go ahead and safely take it down after just a couple of hits, and we're moving on to Bruno. It turns out that Bruno refused the randomizer's instructions and decided to be a fighting trainer regardless, sending in Golchan against our Slimer. Going for a Play Rough, we get it down to about 50%, and then follow up with another one, getting the KO. Primerzard is out next, as it goes for a Stomping Tantrum, doing some good damage to us. A Play Rough can safely KO the big guy. Jigglypuff comes in next, and after Bruno uses both of his full restores to keep it alive, we manage to take it down after a Play Rough and a couple other hits. Chartop's out next, and we manage to go for an Aqua Tail, taking it down way into the red before he goes ahead and swaps into Ursa Champ. But once we go for a Play Rough, we take it down, and Chartop comes back out. And with that, we defeat Bruno. Agatha's been randomized into a Fire Trainer, and somehow that makes her creepier to me, but Flayon is her first Pokemon. I sent in Minitro first, and honestly I'm not exactly sure why I did, but I go ahead and swap into Apex. I purposely go for a Poison, that way Agatha will start using her full restores, and after she uses both of them I start going for Crunch, but I do get burned, which is incredibly unfortunate for what I had planned. But we do take it down. Typeset comes in as her second Pokemon, and I go for an Aqua Jet, doing basically nothing as a Lava Plume leaves me with just 49 HP. Needing to swap out, I go ahead and send in Slimer, taking a hit no problem. And going for a Rock Slide, we grab ourselves the KO. Ariel comes in next, just in time to get a bunch of rocks thrown at him, which is going to lead into Cinderbro, where, you guessed it, rocks. Her final Pokemon, Weelith, comes in, and this thing is absolutely adorable. I hate that I have to throw rocks at it, but we've now defeated Agatha. Lance claims that ghosts are mythical Pokemon, and while he's not wrong, I'm certainly interested to see what his team's going to be. He starts off with Metclops, and I send in Thunderjaw. After a few crunches and he goes ahead and uses both of his full restores, he ultimately swaps out, sending in Unite, who can go down in one shot, but he does mummify us, which honestly I don't think is going to matter. Dustbird comes in and we get it way down into the red on the first shot, and then he swaps out again, sending Metacross back in just to go down. He then sends Dustbird back in and we can take it down safely. Untome comes in, and this looks like it should be something from Pokemon Uranium, but we go ahead and take it down in one shot, and his final Pokemon, Millionette, is absolutely adorable and manages to take one whole hit before we take it down, and we're moving on to Rando. As we approach the Champion's Chamber, we see Rando standing before several mirrors, turning to each one, and with each one a new voice. Barry Rando. N Rando, Silver Rando, the Magnificent Rando, Captain Rando, and more. Who am I? He asked. I placed my hand on his shoulder. I'll show you. Rando starts off by sending in his Kafka King, and we send in Thunderjaw. He goes for a Shadow Ball, doing decent damage to us as an Earthquake goes ahead and brings him down to about 50%. Rando then starts healing up, but after he uses 3 of his full restores, we manage to get a crit on our Crunch and get the KO. Togafreak comes in next, setting up a Sky Attack, which takes us just below 50%, but we managed to take him down in just 2 shots. Somebody finally gave Glaz Kazam some coffee as he gets us way down into the red, activating our Berry. Rando then goes ahead and heals up, but after 2 more crunches, we manage to take the guy down. Frosh Rose out next, and this is an absolutely beautiful sprite as a Shadow Ball comes in, knocking us down into the red, but 1 Iron Head gets us the KO. Tortonate's up next, getting us down to just 4 HP as a Rock Slide gets him down to about 50%. Knowing we need to swap out, we go ahead and send Nicolas Cage, who gets knocked down to about 50%, and then a little bit lower with a Leaf Storm. I don't know why he didn't just hit us again with the same move, but an Ice Beam takes him down. Sunfire comes in, and unfortunately, this guy doesn't have a custom sprite. I feel like the randomizer always gives Blue one not custom sprite in his champion battle, like for fun, and yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And it's funny. Anyways, we go and swap out and send an Apex as a Leaf Storm does basically nothing to us. After a couple of hits, we get it way down into the red, and Rando must see the writing on the wall because he goes ahead and goes for a takedown, which between our rough skin and the fact that his takedown in general, take him down. And with that, we tell Rando exactly who he is. Anywho, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you liked the video and you made it this far and you're not subscribed yet, what is wrong with you? Over 80% of you are not subscribed to the channel, which is absolutely insane. So any support you can give would mean the world to me. But I'll catch you all next week. See ya.